Thanks, Ian. You're the best.
It's recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you.
Score.
I love me.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Greek Chorus, a podcast hosted by two friends from New York who met in college and moved to LA.
Where now we're yapping about how we're using our degrees in charm to navigate this amazing city. I'm Issa Providence.
And I'm Jordan Tate Burrows.
And we're the Greek Chorus.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Welcome
Happy
back.
podcast number 6.
That's crazy.
Weep, weep.
6 weeks.
Yeah. Are you still with us?
Are you still with us? You better be.
Today we are diving into the world of being a background artist.
Yeah. Stop.
I hate when they call us that. I'm
Literally.
Like, just say
I'm
it
not.
for what it is.
That's not art.
Yeah. I'm basically crew. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm just
My
walking
God,
around for
that's
fun.
So funny. I'm basically crew without the pay of crew.
Yeah. With my 140 for 8 rate.
Please. No, you're good. So, Issa, do we want to talk about what is background first, and then we can like get into like the lingo? So when we reference that in our pod,
Yeah.
we don't need to explain it.
Yeah. I do first want to ask you what your goddess
Oh
of the
my
day
God,
is.
that's so true. We do that. That's a great question. I think I am the goddess of anti-Valentine.
Okay.
And also
Elaborate.
girl groups.
Mm-hmm.
We have a great girl group. We literally
Yeah.
had Galentine's brunch today, which was super fun. And then I finished writing a poem that I've been writing for the longest time, and it is scathing. I need to actually read it to you. You'll get a kick out of it. But it is a scathing poem about blonde.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah. And then I read it to our classmate and our friend Gabby.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just like, oh, that happened? I didn't even know that happened. And I was like, yeah, King. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, ooh. Who's your goddess?
I put that I'm the goddess.
Oh.
I'm the goddess. I'm the goddess of art.
Yes, you are.
Because
Actually, yeah.
I've been doing a painting the past 2 days. We really want to frame and put up all of our artwork on our walls. Mm-hmm. We got the new bookshelf for decor.
Love it.
I've been really...
You're a very crafty couple.
Oh, thank you.
It doesn't take a keen observer to notice that. You walk in and it's like 6 different crafts.
Well, I love artwork. I love it. It makes the house feel way
like
more homey. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and way more like it has personality.
Totally.
Like you can tell who we are based on our art, which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about background work.
Yeah.
A background actor is essentially, if you don't know, it's the people that walk around in the background of your TV shows, the people that are sitting at the other tables in the lunchroom, or if you're walking down the street, the people, like you're in New York City and you're walking down the street in New York, the character, everyone on screen is a background actor. Mm-hmm. If it takes place in an office, everybody else in the office that's not speaking is a background actor. Mm-hmm. And it's how a lot of people get acting work and get on sets.
Yeah,
here in
before
LA.
they like get representation or major auditions. It's a good way to make connections. It's a good way to make money.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to segue into what is a Taft-Hartley, because it's also a good way to get your SAG card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think what's deemed as like the easiest way to get into SAG, which is the Actors On-Screen Union, is to get 3 SAG vouchers, right?
Yeah. It's 3 is eligibility, and then I think it's like 10 is a must join, so that means that you do not have a choice. You can't go on another set without becoming a part of the union.
Yes, but after 3, you can join the union. So that's how a lot of people end up joining the union, is that they get their 3 vouchers and can join the union, and then that means you have benefits and higher pay and what a union is there for, pretty much. And there's also, like, I think it's really great for people to get on set for the first time, understand how it works, understand the chain of commands, and like, background actors are pretty much the last thought, the last people on the totem pole.
So bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
But it is a good way for especially young people, but people of all ages to get a feel of what a set is. And I think there's a big misconception for a lot of people who don't have any sort of education in acting that there's like glamour to being on set. And unless you're a triple A-lister, you're probably not going to be like in the most glamorous situation. Yeah. And it's like, good to know.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it later, but like, it's long days, it's early call times, it's waiting around. It's a lot of like, people always use the term like, hurry up and wait. It's, you have to check in, you have to go through hair and makeup and wardrobe, and then you sit around for hours and hours until they need to use you. Yeah. And that's just how it works. Sometimes you're on set real quick, you're on set the entire day. Sometimes you're in holding like pretty much the entire day. It really depends.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And holding is where you hang out.
I wrote it down. It's so funny. Holding is a small area, usually a tent, sometimes a green room or benches fenced in, etc., where you as background are quote unquote held as until a PA grabs you when it's quote unquote almost time to be used.
What I wrote is where you hang.
Yeah.
It's where you can leave the stuff that you're not bringing on set. It's where you'll eat your meal if they give you one. It's where snacks are, and it's
pretty much your home base.
Yeah.
You don't get a trailer as a background actor. You get about 3 rows of tables to put your stuff down. They like, obviously because you're not union, but like they push you to the back so that crew gets their own like section for lunch, and then basically just have to mingle in tight quarters, which is fun. Yeah. What is crafty, Issa?
Crafty is my favorite part of a set.
Yes.
Or it can be my worst nightmare.
True.
Crafty is where all the snacks that are provided for you for free are. And depending on the set, they may be great, they may be not so great. The like standard of like, they're definitely gonna have this is like apples, bananas, oranges, Nature Valley bars, water bottles. And that's like the bare minimum. Maybe they'll bring around like a box of bags of chips.
Yeah, or sometimes like depending on the place, pastries of some sort.
Oh yeah, fruit snacks.
Basically non-allergy. Yeah. But it's oftentimes my nightmare because the only thing I can have is like an apple. Yeah. And like those crumbly what are they called? Nature Valley bars. Nature Valley bars? Oh.
That aren't even certified gluten-free, if you didn't know I'm GF. So like half the time I can't eat anything except fruit, and I'm like, I'm starving. Yeah. Like, this is not going to sustain me.
An apple isn't going to sustain you, and you can't really have a jar of peanut butter on set because someone's going to break out in hives.
Yeah.
So yeah. But what is your favorite crafty snack if, like, stars align?
I was on this, and I could probably talk about it now that the commercial's out, but I was on this TikTok commercial. And
for what?
I was just doing BG. It's like the TikTok commercial that's out right now. That's like yearly TikTok roundup. It came out like over the holidays.
You were in that?
Yeah. Just like, I'm not on the vertical version of it. I'm only on the horizontal that's TV version of it, because otherwise I'm like cropped out. But so the TikTok version I'm not on.
That's so of the TikTok commercial. Yeah. That's so funny.
But their crafty was impeccable.
I'm sure.
It was insane. They had people coming around with fresh green smoothies. They had people making quesadillas. Like, you literally watch them make quesadillas. They had Rice Krispie treats and beef jerky and green tea and soda and fruit snacks and like any snack you would ever want. And then they just kept bringing other, like, they had like berry lemonade that they brought around to everybody too. I was like, I have never felt so fancy, and this is fantastic. And it was like the highest paying job I had that month too. So I was like, this is great.
Yeah. By the way, people who work on crafty and catering are such hard workers, and they are underappreciated. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I was in this one shoot where it was for like a food brand, and their crafty was like these two ladies that like clearly this is what they did, and like they were back there like putting carrots and like celery in little cups of hummus. They had little cups of like chicken salad and tuna salad, and they had like the crackers in them. So I was like, oh, can I just get one without the crackers? And they were like, yeah, let me just whip one up for you. Like, it was so nice.
Oh my God.
Like, this is so bougie.
That's so nice.
Yeah. What about you? What's your favorite crafty snack?
Well, you just reminded me. There was a few night shoots that I was on, and I'll talk about this set later, but when I was doing stand-in work on my first set, God, they had like, I mean, it was... So she had brought in literal like gourmet chefs for the crew, and because stand-ins are technically a part of the crew, I got to have like crew crafty.
Wow.
Which is always nicer than background crafty. And one night they had someone making like South Asian snacks, which is like delicious.
Yeah.
But I'm not picky. I just go for whatever iced coffee is closest.
Yeah.
With a creamer, and, you know, I'll grab like a crumbly bar, knowing that I'll have to eat it over the trash.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. But what's the next part of... what made us... Issa, what made you want to do film?
I have been in the arts. So like,
The arts.
Whatever. But since I was little, and I did a lot of stuff on stage, but I think the thing that I love about being on set is that the days move very slowly, but like the things move very quickly. Every single day they're doing something new. They're like working on something else. You go through scene, because in theater it's so slow that you are doing the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes it can get a little monotonous when you're on like week 7 of saying the same text. And I think the fun thing about film is like they're done with a shot and then they're like, great, next. Like it's not like, of course there's sometimes where you're doing it 15, 20 times.
Sure, but then
like,
you'll never do it again.
Yeah. And I think that's so fun. I think that's what intrigued me into on-camera stuff, is that it's just like go, and like they only do reshoots if something is completely awful.
Yeah.
But what about you?
I think I love being on a set because you do your thing. I love being on a set because of the potential for really positive collaborative spirits. But also I love film. I mean, same as you, I've been doing theater since I was a wee lass. But I think I started to realize that a lot of my professors and people who were older than me were noticing that I lean towards a very hyper naturalism style and a very like small, sort of not broadened style, which works for film. In fact, that is what film is. Right. And so when I wasn't getting cast in the main stages at Syracuse, I started to do short films and I started to love it. And I also think that there's space for women and there's spaces for people of color and the LGBTQ community to really be able to, the Bonzo's food, to be able to thrive and tell stories that are nuanced and real. And yeah, I guess that's why I wanted to do film.
It is an inherently easier form of entertainment to be inclusive because there's so much more that can be produced. And like with theater, it's like, okay, we're gonna do Henrik Ibsen again, written about a family of white Norwegians, and you're like, cool.
You're like, cool. But then they're like, but we're gonna make it avant-garde. It's gonna be in a black box. You're all gonna be nude, drenched in blood, and
it's like, or just stop doing that play again.
yeah, and no family member's gonna look like the other. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the only truly like inclusive playwright was Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that he was doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
It's just
His like character descriptions are just vague enough.
They can be interpreted whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was your first?
Wait, did we go over casting sites?
Oh my gosh, no, we didn't.
There are many a way to find background
yeah.
work. The main ones I use are casting networks, central casting, which like sends it to you.
Yeah.
And Actors Access doesn't have as much background work, but I use that too sometimes.
Sometimes. Yes, I agree. Central casting. Hey guys, I have taken dozens of full body photos against a white background, and you guys just keep on disliking it.
I think you have to get in touch with like their support.
I called them.
What'd they say?
They hung up on me. Central casting. But it's okay. I'm on face to face, which is similar to Central, where they just send it to you. Alessi.
Yeah. Alessi Hardigan. I find their stuff more on like Instagram.
Yeah.
Like there are some casting like companies, same with like Rich King Casting, they'll post on their Instagram too, but they post a lot on casting networks as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's better to just go straight to their email because
I
it
think so
gets
too.
to them quicker than going through casting networks and stuff.
Yeah. There's a bunch of ones you can, commercial extras if you want to do commercials.
Oh yeah, I use them a lot.
They're really good. If you're in New York, you can use casting networks. And Alessi Hardigan, but also GWC, NYC, so Grant Whiffley does a lot of stuff, and Hudson Valley Film Commission does a lot. That's how I found my first on set. But yeah, there's a bunch of different places, and just do your due diligence and research because, some places aren't verified, and just, be safe.
I didn't realize Face to Face charged a fee up front.
Yeah, it's annoying, but now I'm getting, like, stuff.
Yeah, because it's like you might as well. That's the annoying thing about all these sites is they all cost money and they're all way too expensive.
Yeah.
Except for Central. Central doesn't cost anything, which is so
I
nice.
know.
But like you can't go and be like, let me see what's casting. They just text you. Like there's no way to see stuff on Central except the like really hyper specific stuff.
Yeah.
But
they're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple things through them. But then I've also gotten times where I like they availability check me and I'm like, okay, I'm not available for that day. And then they send me a different availability check for the same day. And I'm like,
babes, thank you so much. Any other day.
yeah, I'm like, I just told you that I can't work this day. And it's probably for like a different project, so it's not in the same database. But
or
I'm
some
like,
just intern is getting there.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are some of the networks, which leads us into how we found our first gigs. Issa, what was your first Finally, Joe gets the order right. What was your first gig?
My first on a studio lot.
All of the above.
Okay, so my first background gig was 2 summers ago, I guess. The summer between junior and senior year of college.
Are you allowed to say what it was for?
Yeah, it's out now, so shout out. I'm in it for like a second. So if you go and watch episode 2 of American Sports Story, I forget what it's on. I think it's on Hulu, but it was made by FX.
Yeah.
It's about
Hulu's.
Aaron Hernandez. I'm in it for like a split second when the like football team is going into the bar. We were outside. My first, this is another question later, but like my first set ever was a night shoot.
Oh gosh.
So I'm like in this random
so was mine.
town in New Jersey at like 2 a.m.
Right.
And it's it's like middle end of May. So it's not that warm outside. And we're pretending like it's 2007 in Miami. So I'm in like a tiny little skirt and like a tank top, and I'm freezing because it's like 55 degrees outside and in these little like kitten heels, and I was like, this sucks. But I made like some friends on that set. There were a lot of background actors that day.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
That's good.
It was good.
Oh. Hey.
Get off the table. Mister.
Bonzo is smelling the water. Bonzo. It's okay. Oh.
What
okay.
was your
He got
first
scared.
time on doing
My
background?
So the way that I got this was so funny. It was the summer after freshman year of college, when everything was starting back up again, and I was applying to so many like normal people jobs for summer and just not getting anything. Hi, buddy. But my mom sent me a Facebook ad saying
you told me about this.
Kaling is looking for background actors to work at Vassar College in upstate New York for her new show, The Sex Lives of College Girls. I thought that was a porn. Gonna be so for real.
It also sounds like a scam, being like, this A-lister is trying to find background actors.
I thought it was a scam, but at that point I was desperate. So I was like, yeah, might as well type in my info. And then, because it's upstate New York, they saw me, olive-skinned, curly-haired girl, and they were like, you're just in between two, and they're same height as two of our actors. Do you want to be a stand-in? You'll get paid more. And I was like, sure. So I end up standing in for all of season 1 of Sex Lives of College Girls. So for May and June of 2021, every single day I was coming up from Westchester just on sets. And it was...
I'm so jealous. That's such a crazy first experience.
It was the craziest first experience. I wouldn't have traded it for anything. I loved it so much. I met some of the bestest friends in my entire life on that set as stand-ins. And also made so much money. But also...
stand-ins make a lot of money.
A lot of money. But also, like, it was just great to be on a set because, you learn a lot of set lingo and set etiquette as a background, but even more so when you're getting thrown in and having to stand on a tee and talking to a bunch of people. But the head cinematographer was a CUSE alum of season 1, and he was like, oh my gosh, I should text him.
You know who's a CUSE alum?
Who?
The E of AEFH.
You're kidding.
Nope.
Wait, what the hell?
Isn't that crazy? I was going through the CUSE alum LinkedIn the other day, and I was like, I recognize your last name, sir.
You should email.
I did. The funny thing is that when you're emailing all these agents, I'm like, new talent, Isa Providence, like whatever, which they definitely are just like, spam.
Just say, hey, blank, hope you're doing well.
I said, CUSE alum, ! That was the subject.
That's gonna get you seen.
And I was like, please. And then sent like a very a way more personalized email.
Yeah.
About like, because they had one of their agents talk to us at AGB too. So I was like, one of your agents came and talked to us. Like, I saw you on the CUSE alum LinkedIn. Like, I'm like,
I should look at
please.
You're like, please. That's
Please
like one of
take
your
me.
top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please. I love them. But anyways.
That's so cool.
CUSE alums are literally
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm meeting with a CUSE alum that works he's an assistant at Artists First, I think.
Okay. Wait, what?
He's like one of Sid's like bestie boo guy friends.
Oh my god. That's so cool.
So we're gonna get coffee.
He's
or
an
something.
assistant manager?
He is an assistant to a talent manager.
That's still really good.
Yeah, because then I'm like, who is it? I'm like, part of it will also be good because I'm like, you know what it looks like to have a talent email the person, like your boss.
Yeah.
Like what stands out, what will help me stand out in other people's emails. Like I'm excited to pick his brain about that.
That's so cool.
But
That's so exciting.
anyways,
oh my gosh,
off
go
topic.
Sid. No, it's actually incredibly on topic, but like, what are you talking about?
This is a podcast about being an actor.
This is a podcast about being an actor and learning how to like develop connections in Los Angeles. That is
true.
all the podcast is. But I guess that goes into our first night shoot.
Yeah. Mine was my first time on a set. My second time on a set was the next summer, and it was also a night shoot. So I like only did night shoots for my first 2 times.
Whoa. Okay.
And then my third time doing background is when I got out here, and it was 103 degrees outside, and we were outside all day.
Disgusting.
Yeah, and they were like, it gets so much better than this, we swear.
Yeah.
But
Did
the
it?
second thing hasn't come out yet. So
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
yeah, it was actually in Westchester, which was nice because then it was like
What
close.
town in Westchester?
It was in Briarcliff.
You're
So it was
anyways.
so close to home, which was
It's literally
so nice.
in between both of us.
Yeah.
That's
But
so funny.
I will say something that New York does, or at least I think GW does,
Oh, was it through GW?
Yeah.
Okay.
is that they'll like charter bus
That is
background
really
actors
nice.
out of the city if it's not filming in the city. Because they
Yeah.
did that for Jersey and Westchester.
Yeah.
And I
I
was
will say
like,
in
that's
LA,
nice.
you gotta just deal with it.
Yeah, you have to get there yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What was your first night shoot?
My first night shoot was my very first day as well. But it was not supposed to be a night shoot.
Oh.
I get there, I was called at 9 a.m.,
Oh my God.
but because you're a stand-in, we went to about 2 a.m.,
Oh my God.
which also coincides with our other question about like funniest, craziest stories, but like I'll talk about that later. But it was really fun. I was wearing shorts, so I was unprepared.
Yeah.
But they kept us because we were shooting like the trailer promo shot. So they had released all background, but I got like I was fine. You know what I mean?
like I was compensated.
I was
correctly.
compensated correctly, and not only overtime but weather bump, which is you get bumps as an
yeah.
actor. So if you're in like the elements, which you always are, but like extreme so
Yeah.
it starts downpouring and you have to walk through it, or
Yeah. They're
there's
using
lightning
fire.
or fire or smoke. You
Yeah.
should, and you should talk to your PA, but like you should get a bump.
Yeah, you also get bumps if like sometimes if it's really far out of the way, they'll give you like a gas bump,
Yeah.
which is nice. If you're using your car, they'll give you a car bump. If you are using any props like backpack or a suitcase or a briefcase or
That's
stuff like
yours?
that, yeah, that's your own. You get a bump for that.
They're not huge, but they're just like $10. But
Yeah.
it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with like if you're in the union like and your meal is late, they'll give you a bump. Or if like you miss breakfast for some reason or something like that, they'll like compensate you for that. I'm like, I wish.
Yeah.
But
We have an we're on set tomorrow, and we have an afternoon call, which I'm kind of bummed out about because I would love.
they haven't emailed
They haven't
me.
emailed me yet, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
But Okay, this actually leads into our funniest, craziest set experience.
What's yours?
Okay, well, this is going into my first night. There's an actress. I wasn't standing in for her, but was one of the original 4. None of the brunettes. Let's just say that. And she's a recording artist. We'll say, you know who I'm talking about. But she was so sweet. And because it was literally 45 degrees out and I was wearing a tank top and shivering, she was so real for this. She had thrifted this giant Brandy Melville sweatshirt. And she noticed that me and the other stand-in who had to stay were freezing because we were both unprepared, and she was like, wait, I have like a $2 sweatshirt, like it's not much, but if you guys want to like use it together, you can have it. And we were like, wait, no, we don't need to keep it. And she was like, I was gonna like sell it anyways, which was so real of her. So she brings out this like giant Brandy Melville sweatshirt, and for a while I was Sisterhood of the Traveling pantsing it with my other stand-in friend at the time. But then my other stand-in friend like was not a good girlfriend, and we no longer like, you know, wish her the best, but like actually no, but actually I don't, but
I retract that.
But you know, I try to be kind, but we don't talk anymore. So she has the sweatshirt.
Damn.
Which is so upsetting.
And you know that every time she wears it, she's like, yeah, actually said actress like gave this to me.
Yeah. No.
Which I would be too.
Oh,
to be fair.
And guess what? What am I doing right now?
Talking about it.
What about you? What was your...
It's so funny talking about background work like publicly like this, because you just can't say anything about anything because you sign a lot of NDAs.
Even if you don't, you're not really allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, just because that's why we get excited when things are already out, because then I can talk about them. Yeah. But I was doing this one recently that also was like, I was in like dance wear, I was in like little heels, and it took place in this club.
Okay, yeah.
And
you were texting me about this. This was nuts.
Yeah. And like the way the cameras were is I was like just barely in shot, I think. Like, because they didn't tell me to move the whole time. And the whole thing is that we're just like dancing in this club the whole time. And I am standing right next to where the main actors are having their dialogue. So if I moved and wasn't there, like the lighting would be different. You wouldn't see my like hair flipping, whatever. And so I'm just standing there and I'm the single person dancing while they're doing this scene for like 2 hours. And all the other background is just standing around watching.
Did you talk to them at all or no?
No.
Oh,
I talked a lot to the crew. They were all like really nice. And I think because I was right there, like the director on sets isn't really supposed to talk to background actors. That's like not proper etiquette.
Unless you're like a special kind of...
Yeah.
Or they'll just choose to if they're nice.
Yeah. But I was talking to like the first AD and like the focus op and like all these people, because they'd like cut and then I'd sit down and I was like cracking my back and the focus op was like, yeah, I had to do that over there, it's a long night. I was like, thank you, King. Like,
oh, the ops are always so funny.
Yeah, but I was just like standing there dancing in my little kitten heels for like so long because I was like just barely in shot, and I
Next
was like,
to those 2 actors is literally insane.
I know, I was like, I feel so stupid right now because there's like barely any music playing and I'm just like clip clop clip clop clip clop.
Oh, that's another thing. Oh, we'll talk about that one, a different question, but like if there's quote unquote music in a scene, guess what? Rarely ever is there music.
Yeah. And if it is, it's non-copyrighted. Like in clubs, it's like And that's it.
So I was at a so it was, well, it's out now. It was for Poker Face. It was the episode like with the oh gosh, what's her name? The blonde famous actress. She was playing a singer. I don't know.
I haven't seen it.
Someone commented that, but it was great. Oh, Chloe Sevigny. It was that episode, and we were at a punk rock concert, and we had to like fist pump. But guess what? They had these poor PAs. They had to clap a beat for us to pump our fists to, because it was silence.
Yeah, I've been there.
Embarrassing.
Or like they'll play background music, but then the beat from the clip before is different, and I'm like, we're all gonna be dancing differently to this song. I'm like, this is not the same.
Everyone's just dancing on the 1 and the 3.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
So yeah.
What is our funniest experience together? I have one, but what do you think it is?
I wrote down that day that we were doing background on the Universal a lot, and we didn't even want to get used, and we were just sitting around talking the whole time. And then they'd be like, if you want to get used, you can come. And we'd be like, no.
Fun fact, that was the day that we decided to do the podcast.
Yeah, it's the day that I made the first, like, banner for it. The one that says, like, the Greek chorus in, like, the Hollywood Hill.
You ate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that day, it'd be like, okay, if you want to get used, you can come. And then, like, 20 people would rush, and we'd be like, we don't care.
No.
And I think it was just so funny because it's like we were there, but I was like, I don't really care to be on set. Never mind.
No, it was one of those days where you're just like, I just feel disgusting, and if I'm on camera, I'll literally want to like run into traffic. Like,
yeah.
Which is okay. Cameras aren't supposed to be pretty. It's just supposed to be true. Whatever. But I have a similar show experience. Of us yapping like we always do.
Oh, I think I know what you're gonna say.
So, picture this. Issa and I are called at 7, 8 a.m. And it's for the same show. It's not on the lot. Oh, are you talking about the time that we had to do self-tapes?
No, I
That
thought
was sweet. We've had some funny.
I thought you were gonna talk about The Price is Right.
Oh, okay. We should just talk about all of these.
Yeah.
So, Issa and I were asked to audition for the same character for this like short film, but it was due while we were on set, and we didn't realize that it was due, and so we were on at Universal and deciding not to be used again.
Yeah.
And if you ever passed Universal, like the studios, not the park, but the studios are like gray, like slate gray. So we were like, well, it's perfect for a background, so we have to go and tape, and so we're holding up like we're each other's tripods.
Yeah.
It is.
Spoiler alert, neither of us got it.
Neither of us got it. But that wasn't even the one. Oh, then we were on The Price is Right, which is technically, I didn't even get paid for that.
Yeah. It was like the day after the election, and I was like, I have to go do this thing. And Joe was like, I guess I'll come too, just because I don't feel like doing
Being
anything
alone.
else right now.
I was like, if I'm alone today, I'm going to go nuts.
Yeah.
But then I was going to talk about when we were doing for the same Universal show on location at this like school. And it was supposed to be, a normal 8-10 hour day. Oh, no. We were called at like 7 a.m. We didn't end up leaving until 11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And most of that was us not being used. And then it was raining.
Yeah.
And then they only called about 50 extras in to be used, and Issa and I were like, no, we can't stay out. We can't.
Yeah.
And so we go, and it takes them so long because the director should be, not in a bad way, nitpicky.
Yeah.
They should be, because it's their baby. But the director is known to be very particular. And so it was the same shot, and it was the same take each time.
Over and over again.
And we had to keep on like talking. So Issa and I, in our delirium, by the way, we hadn't eaten dinner in like 6 hours.
Yeah.
So we were just saying like watermelon for about 3 hours.
Well, also, like, a thing that's really annoying is that you'll get on set and they'll be like, okay, now you're gonna fake talk to each other because other people are talking, but they don't want to hear the background noise of like all of us talking. But then you'll literally whisper, you'll be like, okay, let's like talk about this. And they'll be like, whoever is whispering right now, like we can literally hear you back here. So like it's pantomiming. You are pantomiming.
So funny. But then people take it too literally, and it's either they go too big or they don't do anything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, if you
just,
ever
like,
see background actors using their hands a little too much, it's because they're not speaking, so they overcompensate.
Yeah. Or they do the opposite and they're just stoically silent, and
Yeah.
you're talking to a brick wall.
Yeah.
So thank God Issa was there, because
They're going delirious.
Oh, that was the self-tape. I forgot about the self-tape.
That's the day that you met, shout out, Katie and Bella. Because I met
Yes,
them
that
on
was
that
the day.
set the previous time I was doing it.
By the way, they asked us to give them a shout out, but
Yeah.
we love them
So
so
shout out
dearly.
them.
So shout out Katie and Bella.
What's next on the docket?
Oh, things that you don't expect.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you didn't expect as a BG?
I think prior to doing background work, I didn't realize how much you just sat around
Oh, yeah.
and did nothing. Like it really, there are, I find that when I book through central casting, they move very quickly and I'm on set most of the time. But other ones, like Joe was just talking about, you sit around for 10 hours to be used for an hour and a half. And it's like, whoa. And sometimes as an actor, as a background actor, you're like, why didn't they call me here 3 hours ago instead of 10 hours ago? Because they would have paid me way less money. But it's like, they don't, on big budget stuff, they don't care.
Yeah. Also, they
it's
don't
like-
know. They're going through so many emotions.
Yeah.
That they just sort of have to guesstimate.
Yeah.
And because they have the finances to guesstimate, sometimes they're off, and that's unfortunate,
Yeah.
but it's no one's fault.
Yeah, so that has been annoying. And also, like, I think, again, prior to doing BG, I didn't realize how much you use your own clothing.
So much.
I'm in my clothes more often than not.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when I get a costume, I feel, like, fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Well, I only feel fun when I get fitted for a costume because I get paid to get fitted for a costume.
That's true. And also, I'd rather wear a full outfit rather than, like, if they just give me a sweater and then I have to wait in the wardrobe line to check out with just, like, one piece where I'm, like, I'm basically wearing my own clothes, then I'm really annoyed.
Yeah.
But it is, I didn't realize how much they will ask you to bring 3 or 4 looks, and then while you check in, then you go to wardrobe.
Most
and then
of
they'll
the
be like,
time,
what do you
it's
have?
the thing that you're wearing.
Yeah, which is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what about you?
I have a few things. My first one is it ain't flashy.
Yeah.
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 You're in the elements most of the time. Mm-hmm. I've gotten rained on as a private citizen, not an extra, but as an extra so many times. The waiting, it's cattle call vibes where, it's
Put my
just
glasses on them.
hundreds of people who are there, and because you're at the suck. But because, oh God, because a lot of the people there are only there because they want to make a quote unquote easy buck. It's not really an easy buck, and they're rude, and it's a bad look for them and for the people around them, and you just don't want to be in that sort of vibe. Also, whoever they is, like the producers or PAs, they always notice that.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be associated with that.
I don't understand why people are rude to those people. It's like being rude to your boss. I'm like, why would you ever be rude to your boss?
Well, it is their boss.
But, like, I don't think that they see it that way somehow. Like,
Which is nuts to me.
yeah, that, I always get so frustrated when people are rude to the PAs.
And then they have the audacity to be like, oh, yeah, I'm an actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
For who? Because they're not going to cast you after you,
Yeah.
like, were rude to the PA. Like,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, you can't really goof off, and it's just you just have to be prepared to just be hit with whatever.
Yeah. I always like I always dream about like I'm going to be the best background actor on this set and the director's going to notice me and they're going to ask me to do something. They're going to
Sometimes
they're going to give me a line. Like and I'm like that's not going to happen. But like
You never know.
Well, I'm always so hopeful.
AFH will like notice you after you get a line.
Please rep me. Or anyone. I'm looking. I'm in the market for some reps. But yeah, like I'm always like, what if I'm just the best? And like it is nice to befriend the PAs and like start to talk to those people. Like I was doing this one shoot that I think I've talked about. It was on a boat.
Yes.
And there were so many props, and in between takes, one of the prop masters would come through and just make sure everything was reset and stuff. And I just started talking to her, and she was so cool. And like, I think she appreciated that. Like I was talking to her, because a lot of people are just like, okay, like whatever.
Crew are some of the coolest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Period.
Or I had like the same person do my makeup 2 out of the 3 days I was on that set, and then she'd come around and touch up my lipstick, and I talked to her each time, and like it's so nice to feel the like flow of work that way of like they're going to come through, just make sure everything looks good, make sure that they're doing their job, and then we're going to do our background job, and then they're going to come right through again. And like, it's fun to feel more communal that way.
Yeah, it also doesn't take any energy to be nice.
Yeah.
I remember on the Universal lot, it was one day where they had a lot of us going to hair and makeup, and I just remember people just sitting down and like being super quiet, being on their phones, and so I go up, and one of the hair dressers notices that my Italian necklace and starts to comment on it. We just have a lovely conversation, and she mentions like her younger son, and I just talked to her, and I was like, by the way, like, what's your name? 9 out of 10 times people aren't asked their name.
Yeah.
And she asked me my name, and we talked about my hair texture, and then the next week, which like there are hundreds of background. They don't remember you as a name, they remember you as a number. I came back in, she immediately noticed me, and she was like, Jordan, right? I was like, yes, hey girl, and like I remembered her name, and we just had the most lovely conversation again, and she brought in like stuff for hair texture, which was super nice. It only can benefit you and the other person if you're nice on a set.
Yeah. There's a PA that I worked with the first thing I did out here, which was this music video, and there weren't that many of us, which was really nice, because then all of the like PAs and ADs and the director like were calling us out by name, being like, Issa, just go like 10 feet that way, or whatever it is.
You're like, I'm manifesting that this is gonna be the rest of my life.
Well, I was like, it feels so nice to be called by name on these
Not
sets.
number 114. And
Yeah,
you're
or like
well.
purple sweater. Can you like turn a little bit? But like then the PA that I worked with on that set, then when I did that food commercial, he was there too, and we were kind of both like, we recognize each other, and then the whole day we were like talking, and then like if I was like, oh, I'm not really getting used, he'd be like, let me check in on that, and I was like, thank you so much. Like it's nice to make friends with those people, because they're the ones that ultimately can get you in the shot or not.
Yeah, it's also just nice to make friends with people in the industry, because I mean, we're both actors and we're aiming to be in the industry in the long run.
Yeah.
Why not be friends with the people that we're going to be in business with?
Yeah, and I think that's like when you hear horror stories about these like A-list actors that are hard to work with, a lot of the time it's because they're not nice to the crew.
Yeah.
And like I forget where I was and who told me this, but like someone was like, you have to be nice to everybody, because especially when you're working on like a studio lot of a show that's filmed for years, the person serving you food, like even that kind of person where it's like you think that they're not like connected.
They are.
They're serving the food also to the director and the CEO of those companies.
And they've probably been doing it for years.
Yeah. And if you're rude to them, like
they'll talk.
Yeah. They can all talk to each other. Everybody in the wardrobe departments, like if you are rude at your fitting or don't have what you're supposed to have, they'll recognize your face if you're rude to them. Like, it's like everybody's connected, and there's no reason to ever be mean or rude, especially as a background actor. I'm like, you don't have the credibility for that.
Bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
Truly.
I'm like, you are not like the priority here, and you can be replaced in an instant.
Yeah. I have seen it happen on a set where someone pulls out their phone when a PA has really nicely said, hey, can you just please turn off your phone? And they like take it out, like whip it out. And I've seen them. I mean, I was on Challengers. This is not a secret. I was a ball girl. Hey. But I remember like it was the hottest day of the year and we were doing the shot at the very end. And it was really hard. It was days and days, and so we had to sit there in the sun. It's in the early 2000s. You can't have an iPhone 14 in the early 2000s. People were like pulling them out during the shot, and I've seen firsthand PAs having to rush call because the AD is like, you have to leave.
Yeah, I saw that when we were doing a little industry secret for everyone. That 50th anniversary AMAs performance, not live. It is all pre-recorded. No. And they put our phones into like the magnetized yonder bags.
Yeah.
And some girl, I guess, gave them a fake phone in the bag or something.
That's so much effort.
And then was like taking pictures with like the performers like on like while they were performing.
Oh, she would have gotten blacklisted.
And then someone comes up and is like, I have to ask you to leave, like you have your phone out. And she was like, what? No, it's like in this bag. Like, what are you talking about? Who said that? And he literally was like, I just saw you take a picture. Like, don't try to act. And apparently when she like went outside, she was like yelling. It's like, girl, you broke the rule.
Yeah.
Like,
and it wasn't even a harsh rule. That is I mean,
I was paid to watch Jennifer Hudson sing some Whitney Houston 15 feet away from me. Like, I was to the T following every single rule. Like, there was no way.
Go on YouTube once the AMAs come out, zoom in to where you are, and then just take a screenshot.
Yeah, like, I'm like, why would you ever be rude? That makes no sense.
Yeah. A moral of the story for background is just be nice, because you never know where it could lead you, and being nice will always get you far.
Yeah.
Isa, do you want to start doing Would You Rathers?
Yeah. I guess you can do the two that you sent me, and then I'll do the other two.
Yeah, okay.
That I wrote down.
So, early mornings or overnights?
I'd say overnights.
Okay.
Because I hate mornings. And, like, I'd rather be up all night, get home, which, to be fair, the, like, overnights here, I feel like aren't overnights. Like, the two that I did back home in New York were, like, the birds are chirping, we have to leave now. But, like, here it's, like, to 3 a.m. And I'm like, I can get home at 3 a.m. and sleep the next day and be fine.
Yeah.
But waking up at like 4 a.m. to get to a 5:15 call is agonizing to me. Especially if it's like far away. I'm like, I can't do this.
Okay.
If it was like, I was about to dox myself.
If it was at XXX studio lot.
Yeah. Then I'd be like, sure. But like, they're so hard.
Yeah.
What about you?
Okay,
Early.
I do love a good overnight. I think you have the potential, if you have coffee, that is a big must, to make friends. However, my whole family, I can't name a single one that is a morning person. I mean, my dad was a farmer, Like he like rose with the sun
Yeah.
for years. And my mom does, and their sleeping in is till like 7 a.m. I slept in today. Guess what time I woke up? 8:30.
I can't.
And that was me panicking because I had a lot of stuff to do.
I wake up. We went to brunch with our Girly Pop group today.
Hi guys.
And the brunch was at noon. I got out of bed at, I think, 10:45.
I respect that.
And I was like, that's all the time I need.
I do love a good early morning. It's so fun. And
If I'm getting breakfast on set, that does change my mind, though.
yeah, like breakfast, coffee. It feels like springtime. Oh, I just chef's kiss.
Yeah,
It's so good.
that's fair.
Okay. Now, I'll like kind of edit what my question was.
Yeah, because I feel like there's a very clear answer.
Yeah. So, would you rather have a paid breakfast or a 30-minute lunch?
If I can only have one,
Yeah.
I'd rather have lunch. Mm-hmm. Because, especially if it's early in the morning, I'm not necessarily hungry when I first wake up. Like, I am, but if I don't eat, then I won't be hungry for a little while.
Yeah.
And if they have crafty, I can, like, get away with, like, an apple.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have lunch, I'd starve.
Yeah. Also, they don't pay you if you're non-union for lunch. So, having an hour means that you're getting paid less. And
Yeah.
having a half an hour means you're getting paid more.
Yeah. But some of those breakfasts are nice.
Delicious.
You ever have an omelet, chef?
Yeah.
Them shits be cooking.
Be cooking.
And they use so much butter in those omelets. They're so good.
They're so good. I will say I am lactose sensitive, and one time I did ask for no cheese and they just slapped a bunch of cheese on it. But like it was still delicious, and I just picked the cheese out.
There was one time on that really long day shoot that Joe was talking about. You were called before I was.
I was, yes. By like 45 minutes.
Yeah, but there were so many people that day. There was like
400?
Yeah, 400
Yeah.
BG that day. And by the time I got there and went through wardrobe, because you're supposed to go through hair and makeup and wardrobe before you eat, the only thing on the breakfast table, beans. That's it.
I offered to get you stuff.
And I was like, no, it's fine. Should have taken the offer. Beans. That's it. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna starve. No. And then there were so many people there that day that I was like, crafty's gonna be nothingness.
Well, for that show, it usually is just like an apple and some
Yeah.
bars, which is like, I can't complain. You know what I mean?
I'd rather a snack than no snack.
But that is not up for debate.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. There was one day when I was doing BG on this movie, and I think this is the only voucher that I've gotten. I have one voucher out of my
Okay.
3.
Go you.
But I think they just like accidentally put me in this specific group of people because everybody else in this group was SAG except for me. So I was the only one
They might have had like an extra SAG voucher.
Yeah, but it was weird because like there was another scene that day and they put me into a costume to be in this specific scene. And so I couldn't even be with the other people, and then they like kept us longer because then they released all the non-union.
Oh.
But because I was the only non-union, they only had SAG Crafty out, and they were like, "Yeah, you can use it." And I was like, "This is the best thing of my
SAG
life."
crafty is just so good.
It's so nice. They had like sliced apples with like caramel inside and like nuts around the rim, and I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is the life.
This is the life. Do you think because I'm SAG eligible because of Sex Lives I'm standing in, but I think about this a lot where I can join. I'm getting close to must join. I'm not a must join yet, but I have withstood not joining SAG because once you're SAG you can't audition for the non-union like short films as a principal. Mm-hmm. But I'm not opposed to joining SAG. I will have to join SAG eventually.
Yeah.
Go SAG. And the strike was
Unions.
awesome. Unions, woo! But do you think that you'd join SAG right away if you got all three?
Probably not. I know that the attitude against union for equity is you join equity once you know you can consistently book equity work. And that's what I've heard.
Okay.
Is like, once you know that you can be in the equity room and book the equity work, because then you're not like limiting yourself from working other stuff. But I think it's kind of in that vein of like, if I know that I can constantly book SAG, then I would join. But stuff like central casting, they don't really care if you're SAG or not, unless for some reason they already have all of their SAG spots filled. But shows like that have a lot of SAG spots because they're high budget, like Grey's Anatomy and The Pitt and like that kind of stuff, that have crazy budgets that they can have a lot of SAG. But like, it's harder and more exclusive, I think, for stuff like short films, features, like that kind of stuff, because if you're SAG auditioning for that stuff, they kind of expect you to go through an agent.
Yeah. But you can get this stuff if you're not union.
Yeah.
Once you get your first speaking role, another way to become SAG is to have a major speaking, like, I think it's like 5 lines now of a speaking role, or 1 day on set as a speaking role. So,
on a
SAG set. So, do with that information what you will.
Yeah.
But it also is not, because I have friends, like my best friend was a guest star on a show. She's not in union still.
Huh.
So I think it just depends.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's also expensive. You have to have the money to join.
Yeah, it is expensive.
Which people a lot of the time will be like, it's worth it because you make so much more. Like, for base rates, like the non-union base rate is $140 for 8 hours, and the union is $216 for 8 hours.
It's almost double.
Yeah. So it's like, at that kind of thing, you make back
the money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty quick, but
yeah.
My 2 would you rathers are downtown LA or far away.
Far away.
Me too.
I'm a woman in her 20s, and I did a shoot in downtown LA for a commercial a few weeks ago, and it was an overnight, and wow, it was just sketch.
And I don't mind going to downtown if
it's warm out and it's sunny, and
or like I know there's gonna be parking that I can have, and like there's one big studio lot like really close to like downtown. I don't even know what it's called, but I've filmed like 3 different things there now. But like they have like a parking garage that you can park in, so that you don't have to leave the studio, and then like,
or if I know your car in downtown LA.
Yeah, and if I know that I'm gonna be there before rush hour and leave after rush hour, because I will not be stuck in traffic for something that I am not even seeing.
I would much rather go drive. I love driving. I mean, my first experience, I grew up in southern Westchester and drove to Vassar College every day.
Yeah.
That was an hour and 15 there and back. Which I loved, because I caught up on my podcast. Hello.
I will say Santa Clarita sometimes feels real far.
Santa Clarita is, if depending on the traffic, real far.
And I'm like, oh God, it's the middle of nowhere. Because there is something nice about like, sometimes it can take a really long time to get to downtown, but it's not technically that far. It's only like 8 miles away.
No. Yeah.
But then it's like up to Santa Clarita.
Don't
it's like,
dox yourself, Queen.
An 8-mile radius of downtown LA is
That's true.
radius. True. It's all of LA. But like Santa Clarita feels very far because it literally mile wise is.
It's not even technically like in the valley anymore.
Yeah. It's its own valley.
It's literally its own valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your other one?
Get a costume or bring your own.
We were talking about this earlier, and it depends.
Yeah.
If I get fitted for a cool costume and the $75 bump, but even if I'm not paid, if I get fitted for a cool costume and there's like a special rack where I can put my stuff down and just go, love a good fitted costume.
Yeah.
That is very rare now, depending on what project you're doing. And what is needed for background. So I'm gonna say bring my own stuff because I hate sitting in a line. By the way, I hate sitting in the line after 12 hours of waiting and standing there.
The checkout line is like my biggest off.
I'll like shove people to the side. No, I won't.
Run.
I won't. I'll
run to the checkout line.
We're very nice about it. We're very polite, but like I will sprint.
Yeah.
It's a race.
I think for me, it's like I was saying this before, if I am only wearing one piece of their clothing it's like a jacket that they gave me or something, I'm like, this sucks because by the time I return it to wardrobe, the checkout line is going to be so long. But if I'm in a full outfit and I'm like, I'm going to have to change out of this entire thing anyways, then it feels more worth it because I'm like...
also the checkout line's going to be short.
Yeah, so like... And that's also one of my favorite things about theater is like getting the costumes. Like I love that aspect of it. So I'm like, if you give me a full uniform or like
Once
whatever...
you get booked, babe, like your first speaking role, I'm so excited for you.
Well, that was my own clothes.
Well, yeah, no, I mean like your first network speaking role.
Oh, yeah. When the day comes.
When the day comes.
But like, yeah, if they give me like one piece, I'm like, damn. But I was on a set the other week because the thing that they always have to give me clothing for is if it's like business wear because I don't have my own, which I need to just go and buy like a random, not super cute, just very
blazer?
Business like suit.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of the central casting stuff has like suit wear,
business
like,
attire.
whatever.
Yeah.
But they always give me that kind of stuff. And I was on a set the other week that I went to the back because we weren't being used, and I was like, okay, the scene is almost done, so I don't think they're going to use me again. I went to the bathroom, put my own clothes underneath the costume that they gave me, and then was walking around with 2 pairs of pants on. And
was it cold out?
No.
Right.
I was just like, I don't want to have to go into a changing room when I get back down to holding.
Sure.
Or base camp.
The worst kind of changing rooms are when they give you a tent.
And then everybody has to change it there. It was one of those. And it was like literally in the parking lot. So I was like taking like my jeans off and I was like getting them dusty. I was like, are you kidding? You can't even roll out like a tarp, please. Like, this is ridiculous. But yeah, so I put my own clothes on underneath that costume because I was like, I wanted to get out of here. And I had something to do that night. I was going to like a birthday party. I think I was texting you about it. I was like, I have this birthday party to go to, and I'm like stuck here at that one place in downtown.
In downtown LA. Yeah. Interesting.
But,
well, guys, I mean, we need to go to our hot takes now.
Yeah, this is going to be a long episode. It's been over an hour.
Yeah.
Like an hour 10.
It's okay. That's
ish, I think.
We aim for like an hour 15, hour 20 each time. Yeah. So we're fine. Okay, I have 2 hot takes.
I forgot about hot takes when I was writing all my stuff, so I don't actually have any.
Goddess of the Day.
Yeah. That my one hot take isn't even a hot take, it's just an exclamation. But you say one and then I'll go and then you go.
Okay.
Leave the happier one for last. Because last week we ended on like such a sad note.
Ended on like a bummer.
Yeah. And then we were like, anyways.
Okay. Well, both of mine are kind of girly pop. But my first one is actively hating something and actively being a hater isn't always a bad thing.
I call myself the biggest optimistic hater.
Yes.
That's how I would describe myself.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day because, I mean, I think I was talking to you about it, but I have friends who hate the city that they're in.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I wish that I could be somewhere like where it has its finger on the pulse the industry, but it's always warm and there's nature around it.
That's so crazy,
and
actually.
I was like, that's so crazy that you say that, because that's Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
And I think actively hating something, it's okay to like, not even hating, but actively disliking something or knowing that it's not for you actually gives you room to set a boundary and explore other avenues for yourself that make you happier.
I am a hater in the sense that I'm very judgmental at first interaction, like with anything it is. I'll be like, I'll be like looking at apartments as I do. I'll be like, wow, this kitchen's so ugly. I would never want to live here. And then I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. But like I am.
Don't hate people, hate things.
Yeah, I'm not a people hater. There are people that I wish mediocrity on, but like
crazy sentence to say. So. But yeah, no, like there are people that I know aren't the people for me in my life.
Yeah,
doesn't mean that.
But I don't wish them well.
Sure, I wish them neutrality.
Yeah, that. I'm coining that right now. I wish you mediocrity. That's like when people tell you, like, have the day you deserve. It's like, wow, like okay.
A punch. It's like the equivalent of, like, not getting punched in the face, but getting punched in, like, the upper, like, clavicle.
Someone, like, knocking into you because they don't walk far enough away. Yes. One of those, like, shoulder umps. That, like, whenever they try to stage them, they never look natural.
So it's like,
yeah.
And you're like, what? Okay, that just must have hurt.
There's either, like, nothing, or it's, like, wait, like, you're, like, boob to boob, and you're like, oh, God, like, we're too close right now.
Please. Boob to boob is crazy. Okay, that's mine.
My only hot take that really isn't a hot take is that girl groups are so important.
Yeah, girl groups are so important.
Like, and like I said earlier, like, Joe and I have a pretty decent girl group, which, not to brag, but I built brick by brick. Like, I met all of these people.
We've all added a few, but you brought us together.
I just, like, I mean, I was in a sorority in college. Sure. Like, I was always a group of friends person growing up. I had, like, my bestie boos, like, in college, like, Sophia and I were, like, number ones, you know, but I also, like, liked being surrounded by, like, groups of girls and whatever.
So important.
But they are so important. And shout out my friend Maddie, our friend Maddie. She parked at my apartment and then we walked over to where we ate. But we were walking back and we both live with our boyfriends. And I was like, I love Ian so much. It is so nice to just be surrounded by female energy for, like, 2 hours and just, like, gab it out and talk about girl stuff and, like, not think about, like, oh, a guy has to also interpret this.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I just think that a group of women are the most unstoppable creatures on the face of the planet.
Yeah. And it's funny because we'll talk about our other friends. Like, one of our friends was talking about how these girls were, like, kind of shitty to her. And then one of the other girls was like, you had bad friends in high school.
That's so
and it's
funny.
Like, now that we're older and, like, graduated from college and are, like, adults, we can, like, call that kind of stuff out because we've all experienced that kind of stuff. And it's like, we can call it for what it is now, and it's refreshing. And I was thinking about this the other day of, like, I don't Snapchat any of you.
I don't have
Snapchat. It makes me feel so adult. I'm like, these are friends that I don't have to keep a streak with, which I have 3 streaks that I keep and that's it. But, like, I'm like, I feel so adult not having any of you on Snapchat, except for my big Sid.
Yeah. You and I had each other on Snapchat by default because we went to college together. But I don't even use Snapchat.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to say that we have a really good girl group. Mm-hmm. And girl group, by the way, when we say girl group, all genders can fit into a girl group.
So true.
So, just so you know, we say girl group as a feeling, not a limitation. As a vibe. Yeah.
But it's nice because there's, like, I think there's 10 of us in that group chat.
Something like that.
And it's nice because there's always someone that will respond to you. Like, one of our other friends the other day was like, quick, I need a karaoke song, and like 5 of us sent different options.
Yeah, or we'll just put it out like into the space, and it's just like a healthy group of girls who are adapting in LA. And
I do have a friend that I want to add to the girl group.
So add her.
Well, I can't
Or
just
them.
like randomly add her.
Why not? I randomly added several people.
Well, but you've had the conversation. You were like, oh, I have this other friend, I'm gonna add her. I can't just be like, hey, I'm adding this person, because then she'd be like, what is this? Like, I'd have to like tell her in advance.
Oh, yeah.
But because she also knows Nelly.
Well, what I was gonna say is, yeah, talk to her about adding her, but also, is this the friend that I've met at your birthday?
Yeah.
Okay. She was great. Yeah, I just mean, like, you don't have to tell any of the girls in the group, because we'd all be like, yay, another girl!
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. We're all just very excited to have girlfriends.
Yeah. Because making friends as an adult is so hard that it's
so
like
hard.
nice to have people that I'm like, I feel comfortable with all of these people.
Yeah, I don't need to, like, put on something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your
My other one? Okay.
your last hot take of the day, and then we'll close
Babe.
out.
We're straight 10s.
What? Is that your hot take?
Yeah. Well,
I don't
my
think that's a
hot
hot take.
it's not a hot take. It's a lukewarm take. It's just the truth.
It's a realization.
But, like, I was thinking about this, and I think I can say solidly, like, in New York, I was on a just a normal day. I'd range from 6.5 to 8. You know what I mean?
Depending on the neighborhood.
Depending on the neighborhood, depending on like who I was with. If I was with my model friends, 6.5. If I was with my guy friends, 8. You know what I mean? But then I moved to LA, and somehow, yum. Guess what? Everyone's eating me for dinner. Eating me up for dinner. It's LA is not what you would think. And if you are this, I love you. But you're not included in this because you're a natural blonde. But the emaciated fake blonde
with lip fillers,
and a BBL in LA, quote unquote, is not something that people are really into anymore.
Yeah.
They love the quirky girls.
And maybe they're just somewhere else that we do not frequent.
Yeah, but thank God.
Hollywood.
Yeah, like Hollywood.
Yeah.
I would never.
Yeah.
But you and I am straight 10s. People just, like, eat us up for dinner. Are you kidding me? They
Tell
love
that to casting
us.
directors.
Well, we are constantly getting auditions.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So
We're
true.
Hollywood 10s, babe. We're starlets on the rise.
I do think that, like, I know there's always gonna be, like, the best way to look is be 115 pounds
The
and...
subway, the police officer.
Oh. Little tangent. I once...
Before we wrap up.
Yeah, I once hopped a subway turnstile and then got caught by an undercover cop. Okay. And then on my ticket for it, he said that I was 115 pounds. I was like, I'm the size of a twig. Like, thank you so much. I was like, wow, he really didn't know how to judge me. Like, I was like, babes, add like 40 pounds to that number, but okay.
You crack me up, girl.
Thank you. But I think, like, people that are, all this to say, people that are, like, film buffs and TV nerds, like, nowadays want people that look more natural again.
Like a human?
Yeah, like, I've seen so much discourse about veneers recently.
Yeah.
And people are like, you don't look real if you have veneers. Do not be in a period piece if you have fillers, if you have veneers, because you don't look of the times.
At the end of the day, do what you want. I'm of the mindset of like Ariana Grande, who's like, to each their own. If you do what makes you feel good.
Totally.
And feel like your best self.
Yeah.
All people have the capacity to be beautiful.
Yeah.
And
But once you start not looking like you, that's when I'm like,
wait,
it's a little too much.
let me do the math here.
Yeah.
But you and I, straight 10s, Hollywood 10s. Hey
And on
guys.
that.
And on that,
Please cast us, and we'll be background actors forever.
No, we won't. When you and I are accepting our Oscars.
I actively think about this.
Oh. Every time we think that we're gonna end this.
And to wrap this out, I sometimes think about, like, if my stars aligned and I was up there accepting an award, I would shout out all of the background actors because I know that it is the most tedious work.
Yeah, it's so tedious, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Anyways,
guys.
Thanks for listening.
What's next week?
I don't
We'll
think
post about it. I don't even know either. We have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
This was a long episode.
Yeah.
Hope you're still here. If you're still here, go follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Greek Chorus. Woohoo!
Woo! Bye.
Bye.